know why. I don't know why it had to turn itself off, but it did. Anyway, we're back. Good evening. Hello, everybody.
The microphone's crap.
It's not the microphone, it's OBS.
Yeah.
The microphone's great.
OBS is crap.
Yes, OBS is unreliable, apparently. It does like to randomly turn off or forget that it has a microphone attached in some of my mixers. Not all of them, because obviously I have a different mixer depending upon which console I'm using. But anyway, technological complaints aside, good evening. How is everybody? We are here once more on a wonderful Thursday evening. The window's open. The breeze is chill around my toes. And I am joined by my wonderful bitch.
Hello.
And somewhere around is the beast. Not to be disturbed, but the beast is here.
Did you want me to check on TikTok?
Yes, please, if you would be so kind.
What do you want me to do?
Just go and see if I'm live. So you should be able to just go to my account and like it'll say like live and stuff, and then this will be up there.
Oh yeah, it says live.
Hey, we live on TikTok. Hello TikTok. I don't know if anyone's even watching. Don't care.
You've got a lot of views on like your other ones that you've put up here.
Yeah, those are my my little hey, I'm doing these videos.
Yeah, you've like had a lot of views on these.
Whoop whoop.
Like over 200.
Nice.
And one of them's got like 300.
Damn it. I had no idea.
Yeah, another one that has like 800.
Jesus. See, like I said, I really need to start checking these things out because I just sort of throw it out there and leave it be. Weird. Anyway, as you can tell by the vaguely monochrome design going on right now, we're back with a little bit more Stories from Soul. We're looking forward to this again. Exciting times to find out what's been going on with this mysterious power outage and the strange coma that my little in-game girlfriend has gone into.
I don't like that.
What?
You say an in-game girlfriend.
Yeah, she's the character's girlfriend.
I'm your only girlfriend.
You're not my girlfriend, you're my fiancé.
Yeah,
There's a very big difference.
yeah, we're getting married in June. He's on mine.
All hers. Sorry, no one who's out there fighting for me. I'm taken. Forever. And I couldn't be happier. Genuinely couldn't be happier. Super excited. We're already off on some wonderful tangents. So yeah, we're back into this. We're gonna just chill out again, have a little bit more visual or novel nonsense. I'm gonna do something about this pain he's in, and then we'll make a start. So please tell me, how have you been? I'd love to know. I'd love to hear from you all. As I said earlier, I intend to start checking comments and shit to see whether or not anyone's actually saying anything. Would be nice, hopefully, but obviously no pressure on anyone. I just never check things on social media. Yes. So I brought this screen up because it was on this message when I loaded it, and I accidentally clicked, and it changed. So we're just gonna start from here, which is where we left off last Thursday. The two of you make your way through the hangar and up the flights of stairs that lead to the Foresight thoroughfare. Once at the top, you're faced with the unyielding set of doors. That's me and Dalton, of course. Okay, sir. First, you need to take the cable from the PST and... nut. Yeah. Haven't even gotten 2 full sentences in and she's already interrupting. First, you need to take the cable from the PST and connect it to the underside of the terminal next to whichever door you want to open. After that, you turn the device on. If you do that now, I'll show you the rest once it's active. PST. Following Dalton's instructions, you kneel by the terminal and withdraw the cable from the device. It's awkward in the darkness, but you eventually connect the cable to a port in the bottom of the terminal. Once you've got the sub-terminal connected, you can use it in the same way you would the normal terminal. Just select the right function from the menu and insert your keycard into this slot, and when it requests you to, give it a try now. Alright, let's see. My security card. Using the small keyboard, you select the override option function, and then, as Dalton advised, insert your keycard. As expected, although slightly slower than you'd like, the door opens, allowing access to the four-side thoroughfare. Great work, Cadet. All I need to do now is to get this to the captain's quarters, and then to engineering, and we'll have the gun dock back up and running in no time. You okay there, Cadet? Yeah, I just forgot that you had to get the codes from the captain's quarters. Isn't that against the rules or insubordination or something? I thought that it was forbidden to go into the captain's quarters, in essence, explicitly instructed for duty. You sigh as Dalton shakily removes the cable from the terminal underside and closes the lid on the PST. Technically, yes, but right now the choice is insubordination or we all suffocate in vacuum space. That's a tough choice. Which would you prefer, Bit? Insubordination or suffocating in the deep, dark vacuum of space? You have to choose one. And that is why you're not in the mix.
Yeah.
But don't you worry about it. I'm sure the captain will understand why I had to do it. Besides, I've always wanted to see what their quarters looks like, so I'd say it's worth it, right? Heh, I guess. You place a hand on Dalton's shoulder and take the terminal from him. Anyway, you take it easy here. Try to raise the chief on the radio. See if she's got anything for you to do. I've got to get moving. Yes, sir. With that, you give Dalton a casual salute, and in return he throws a rigid, formal salute back at you. Smiling to yourself, you head through the now open double doors and into the thoroughfare. So now we need to make our way to... Aww. I shouldn't wait the PST's battery power on getting in there. Besides, I have the power back on soon enough. I want to go and get something from the vending machine. Not too rigorously, I hope. We don't want anything getting stuck.
That sounds so stupid. Why did I say that?
Because you're adorable. Standing outside the captain's quarters, you look at the heavy device in your hand. It's taken longer than you'd like to get here, but at least now you can get those codes from the captain. Okay, so first I get the PST. You kneel down by the terminal to the side of the door, laying the PST on the ground and unclipping the catches that hold the front of the unit closed. After it starts up, you swiftly draw out the cable and connect it to the terminal's underside. Squinting at the screen's phosphorescent glow in the low light, you scroll your way through a series of menus to select the unlock function. Once you hit enter on the command, a prompt shows up on the screen. Alright now. Once the device reads your keycard, you hear the software of the door unlocking and a hiss as it slowly opens. Okay, I can leave this here for the time being. You stand up and step in front of the door, which continues its painfully slow opening. Come on, come on, come on. Captain, are you... Ugh, that's... Ugh. As you step across the threshold into the dark of the captain's quarters, you're instantly overwhelmed by a powerful fetor. You gag and stumble your way back to the door, taking a deep breath of the corridor's sterile air. You try to compose yourself, but the odor drifts out around you, and a particularly acrid waft stings the back of your throat as you take another breath, causing you to gag again. Ag, ag. The atmosphere on ships and even the colonies are carefully regulated, and the air supply constantly scrubbed and recycled. Because of this, strong smells are something that are almost never encountered and quickly resolved. You realize that with the ship's life support out of action, this hasn't been happening, and whatever is causing the stench in the captain's quarters has left to putrefy the air into this awful miasma. After a few more retches, you steel yourself to re-enter the room. Before heading in, you bring your arm up in front of your mouth and nose to do your best to bear the stink. Although you're doing your best to breathe as lightly as possible, the odor still assaults you, almost too much to bear. Captain, are you... I appreciate those because I need to actually cough. Are you in here, Captain? With no answer, you carry on deeper into the quarters. As you grow accustomed to the smell, you begin to pick up the unique odors that it's comprised of. The first scent that you identify brings back memories of early flight training, the acidic tang of vomit. The second takes you a little longer, sour and chemical. You wonder for a moment if it's one of the substances they use to strip paintwork from ships or armored frames, but then you spy an empty bottle on the desk and realize what it is. Stale whiskey. Sick, huh? The cause of the captain's absence now obvious, you look around the room. And to the left is another closed door. To the right, you see an open doorway and what looks like the end of a bed. Captain? You call out again as you head towards it. Although your reason for being here is entirely justifiable, you still feel a little bit hesitant about barging in. Captain? Nothing. All right, Captain, I'm coming in. We need those. Having stepped through the doorway, you find yourself in a room that's much closer to a normal bedroom than the crew quarters. Rather than access panels flush to the walls for storage, the room has actual furniture. A chest of drawers sits below a large mirror, and the bedside table is right next to an unmade queen-size bed. For a moment you think like Cassie is wont to do, the captain has just thrown her worn uniform onto the bed and left it all in a heap. But before you turn back, a sluggish movement in the mass of crumpled clothing turns over, revealing it to be Captain Bartmuse herself. Ah, Captain. You throw a salute and hold it for a moment before you realize that the captain is completely oblivious to your presence. Tentatively making your way towards the captain's bedside, you register that the smell of stale whiskey is strongest from her immediate vicinity. As you look around, you notice another bottle lies mostly empty, with a small pool of amber liquid left in one of its corners. Captain. You run your hands back through your hair and sigh loudly. Regardless of all this, you remind yourself you're here to get the emergency input codes. Captain. Hey, Captain. Captain Bartmuse. You place your palm on the captain's upper arm and rock her gently. Captain, come on. You need to wake up. We need your emergency input codes. Captain, wake up. Captain, Snake. You step back and pinch the bridge of your nose with your thumb and forefinger. Despite everything, it doesn't seem the captain will be waking up from this stupor anytime soon. Oh, come on, after everything. If I can't get those codes from the captain directly, maybe she keeps a copy of them around here or something. Worth a shot. I failed to drink out my water bottle twice in a row. Genius. The captain's bedroom. It's actually pretty nice. This is the first time I've seen the captain's quarters, so I didn't know that they were this different. Privilege of rank, I guess. A painting of the first colony fleet to enter Jupiter's orbit. If I remember my civics lessons, they were funded by a wealthy Terran industrialist, who had them built to serve as habitats for a workforce that would harvest resources from Jupiter and her moons for his company's sake. So, Peanut is currently sat on the foot of my chair, chewing on some green rubber from one of her chewy things. Oh, that was so cute. She tried to hand it to me, but it was just sticking out the front of her mouth. Some fluff on your eye. Good girl. Go get Mommy. Go there. To your left, dumbass. She looked everywhere but where it is.
Of course she did.
It's literally down by your right knee. After a few decades, the population had enough of existing with no autonomy and living on company scrip, so they took control of the fleet and petitioned to join the Solar Federation. We all know how that ended. Don't we, kids? An empty bottle of whiskey, aside from a few leftover drops. Europa Colony Special Blend. If the captain's got an actual bedroom, I wonder if this is an It's an actual bathroom, alright. But now I know where the smell of vomit is coming from. What was I expecting to find in there anyway? A pretty nice desk. It must be where the captain does all of her work when she's not on the bridge. If that's the case, then, as I thought, it's got a few drawers at the back, next to where she'd sit. If the codes are anywhere, they'd be in there. It's still over there, Peter. Well, she listened to me, but she hasn't found it. That's not what I do. You. I know I've seen Cassie hand the captain printed reports and status updates. Maybe she's still got a copy of these codes in here. You try to open the top drawer, but the small amount of initial give stops almost immediately as you hear a clunk. You try a few more times, and then spot a keyhole to the left of the drawer. Checking the second and third drawers gives you the same result. Locked, of course. I'll have to find the key. Ugh. You were uncomfortable enough making your way in here in the first place, but now that you're about to rummage your way through the captain's personal effects, you feel even worse. Let's get this over with. Doing a quick scan of the room in the hopes that the captain may have left the key on the top of the chest of drawers or her bedside table proves fruitless, so you tentatively step back inside. Nervously looking to the captain's comatose form every few moments. Sorry about this, Captain. Standing by the chest of drawers, you lay your hand on its top and drum your fingers before nervously pulling the top one open. Seeing only folded clothing inside the chest, you close it quickly. Going on to repeat this process for the next 2 drawers, finding nothing. Stepping back, you take another look around. The only immediate obvious place left to check is the drawer in the bedside table, right next to the captain. Moving over to it, you squat down beside the unit, acutely aware of the captain sleeping right next to you. Ooh. In the low light, it's next to impossible for you to make out the contents of the drawer, so you have to settle for reaching inside and feeling your way through. Yeah, I was just looking at, Kelly's just sent a picture of her rummaging through the stories from Soul Instruction Manual, or Companion Book, or whatever it is. With the message, Kelly sounding like a ghost. A lot of oohs. No, everyone needs to know right now. Apparently you can go and buy a physical copy of this game on playasia.com, so I highly recommend you do that as well.
I'm just saying that you have limited time to stream.
I'm here forever. I will be here until I am done. Nothing will stop me. Except for
your
a power cut.
Except for your alarm.
When I go to sleep. If I fall asleep at the screen. In the low light, it's next to impossible for you to make out the contents of the drawer.
I think you're too old to last until 12 a.m. streaming. You just be like, nah.
Well, that sounds like a challenge, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen?
It's like, you remember what Pat said? Like, someone's like, is Pat streaming tonight? He's just like, are you fucking out of your mind? It's 10 o'clock. Go to bed.
Yeah, but then he does also do streams where he starts at 11 and streams until 3.
Yeah, but he doesn't do that anymore, I don't think. Especially with his son.
When we have a child, I'll be able to stay up all night. I'll be like, I'm looking after the baby and I'm going to stream.
You will fucking not.
Why not?
Because the baby needs sleep.
Oh, I mean, the baby will sleep on me and I can just be sat here with the baby and
What, in the
stream.
dark?
Yeah.
No, hurt your eyes.
My eyes are fucked anyway.
Yeah, the baby.
The baby.
I don't think it's good for them to be exposed to blue light like that.
That's why I'll be facing this way.
Yeah, sure. Just to clarify, we don't have a child at the moment. It's just
But we're looking for one.
in the in the future, in 4 or 5 years or so, that we want a baby. Yeah. But not yet.
You have to settle for reaching inside and feeling your way through. Running your fingers over the various contents, you try to figure out what's in there. A thin plastic surface with regular bumps which feels like it has a foil underside. A small glass bottle with a series of raised dots just under the label. Various individual papers. Aha! You grab a hold of what feels like a keycard clipped into a lanyard and pull it out the drawer. The metallic jingling sound that comes with it is quickly revealed to be a keyring, featuring various different keys. One of these has got to be the key for those. Oh, little animation, how adorable. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and she looked at me. Lieutenant. You freeze in place with your hand half out the drawer, holding onto the captain's identity card and keys. You hadn't seen her stir, but in the blink of an eye, Captain Bartolomew's had managed to reach out and grab a hold of your wrist. Explain yourself. The captain's grip on your wrist isn't particularly strong, but the shock has rendered you perfectly still. You slowly turn your head to face her and see her lazily gazing at you through the darkness. Lieutenant? You hold onto your breath for a moment, and then exhale slowly, calming yourself. What are you Composing yourself, you speak calmly and quietly. I'm sorry, Captain. It's an emergency and I've come to get your input codes. Emergency? All the ship systems have gone offline. Commander Quinn has collapsed. I've been working with Chief Cathays and Lieutenant Lord to get your codes so that we can get the ship back online. The captain blinks groggily a few times and releases your wrist, drawing her hand back to rub her eyes. As she does, you slowly take the keys from the bedside drawer and stand. That's why I'm here. I thought the codes might be in your desk drawer, but I needed the key. Although you're doing your best to maintain your tone and demeanor, on the inside your heart is racing as you consider the possibility of being given a court-martial here and now. Sounds important. Well, yes, ma'am. I'd say we all consider it pretty crucial right now. The captain continues to gaze at you as you stand to attention in the darkness. After a moment in which you think she may have fallen back to sleep, she rolls onto her back and brings her hand to her forehead. The printout with the latest access code sits in the second drawer. You breathe a sigh of relief as the captain rolls away to face you. Just don't read the report. Ma'am? You wait for a few moments, but eventually a gentle snore emerges from the crumpled heap that is Captain Bartleby's, and you relax. Second drawer. Thanks, Captain. You got the captain's keyring. Use these keys, a collection of keys. Presumably they've all got something to do with the ship's systems. But all I've got to worry about is the one that opens her desk. Apparently I can't just use it. Fair enough. Alright, let's see which one. Now I can use it. You spend a few moments working your way through the selection of the keys that hang from the ring on the end of the captain's lanyard. You're able to discount a few based on their unusual shapes, but finding the right one is still a tricky task in the dark. Eventually you find one that slides easily into the lock and turns a mechanism which lets out a surprisingly hefty clunk. The captain said the codes were in the second drawer, so you open that drawer, first and purposefully leaf through the collection of papers, reports, and files that it contains. Crew manifests, security updates. You see the telltale tractor feed edges of the printer paper. You've seen Cassie produce updates and reports for the captain on, sticking out from underneath the manila folder. As you lift the paper out of the drawer, the folder on top begins to spill its contents. You quickly grab it to stop everything from falling out, and as you do, you can't help but read its title. JCF Naval Investigatory Commission Findings. Incident 00784, 2109-0209. Subject, Rear Admiral M. Bartleby. With what you believe to be the printout that would contain the codes in one hand and this report in the other, you look back towards the captain's bedroom as you remember her instructions. Just don't read the report. You hesitate for a moment, rereading the title. Rear Admiral. Ooh. Do we read the report or do we put it back?
Read it.
Scandalous.
What did you choose?
Read the report. You stare at the cover of the report for a few moments before looking back to the printout, then to the captain's bedroom. Placing the printout back in the drawer, you open the folder and begin to leaf your way through its contents. You skim the first few pages which outline the investigation's intention, to assess the actions taken by Rear Admiral M. Bartleby in battle in lunar orbit. Following on from that are a series of diagrams and charts that you recognize to be ship's movements sorted by time, followed by annotated or captioned stills taken from the ship or armored frame-based recording devices. As you work your way through them, you see that they're being used to illustrate. A squadron of JCF ships pulls away from the main fleet and is eventually intercepted and then decimated by the enemy. Well, I wonder what that could be. The final photographs show the few remaining ships returning to the fleet in a state of disarray, with all of them suffering extensive damage. As you move past the pictures and diagrams, you flick through pages that outline a breakdown of the losses, ships, armored frames, pages and pages of crew names. Eventually, you get to the last few pages of the report, where you skim through the conclusion. This inquiry finds that by leaving the defensive position for an unsanctioned offensive, thereby opening a point of access through the E-field, Rear Admiral Maris Bartlemy's significant loss to armored frame groups. Wait, E-field? This is Kaliki 6. They've cut off the flight path. There's more. There's a whole squadron of characters coming in from E-field. Kaliki 1. They go to cut you off from the fleet. They signal us. Kaliki 6. Respond. Kaliki 6. What's going on? How many characters are coming in from the E-field? You stop and lay the report on the captain's desk, staring at it, rereading the conclusion again and again. Adversely impacted flights included Thebe flight, Karma flight, Carpo flight, Kaliki flight. You close the report and place it back into the drawer. Almost mechanically, you reach for the printout you've been handling a few moments before and methodically scan through it until you see what you're after. Classified core system access codes. Generation date 2004-0214 for captain and second only. You slowly rip the relevant page from the rest of the document at its perforated edges and fold it up and slide it into your pocket. After this, you methodically place the rest of the paper back into the drawer, which you slide closed. You got the access codes. The codes in your possession, you calmly make your way back towards the corridor outside the captain's quarters where you've left the PST. As you approach the doorway, you absent-mindedly take hold of the radio and push down the transmission button. Okay, Chief, Lieutenant Lord, I've got the codes. You release the push-to-talk button and wait. You give it a moment, but instead of more instructions from the Chief or some kind of backhanded congratulations from Lieutenant Lord, all you hear is a powerful hiss of static. Chief, you try again. Lieutenant Lord, still nothing. Anyone, come on. You give the radio a shake and spend a few moments adjusting the frequency dials, but you still don't hear anything from anyone, just the hiss of static. For a moment you feel like throwing the radio down the corridor, but instead you slump against the nearest wall and hold your head in one hand. Slouching against the wall in the low light for a moment longer, you sigh loudly before turning and kneeling down by the PST, which you begin to pack back up. You've got the codes, you just can't get them to the Chief over the radio. The next best thing, you decide, is to get them to her in person. You clip the latches on the PST closed and pick it up as you stand, turning to make your way through the darkness towards the Forsyth thoroughfare. Can I examine them? These are the codes needed to reboot the central computer and get the ship's systems back online. In normal circumstances, these are only given to Captain and Head of Operations. I cannot. Power off, there's no getting inside. There's really no exit right now. Right now I couldn't get in, even if I want to. I don't know, I'm just kind of feeling sassy. I wonder if there's anything else I can do. Can't waste my time. Need to get the codes to the Chief. Really? Hey, can I not, like, can't waste my time. No, can't let him out. There's nothing I need there. Just get to engineering. Can't waste time. No. I'm very dead set on making sure that I'm going, no, can't go and get something from the vending machine. Damn. But what if I'm hungry? Aft thoroughfare. Armory. Swipe your card to the car reader, but set into the terminal. Obviously it's not working. Why would I think it was? Okay, so apparently I'm not going into the armory regardless of what I think. Outside the huge blast door that separates the aft thoroughfare from the engineering department, you begin the increasingly familiar process of unpacking the PST. Alright, I set up the PST. First withdrawing the cable, then plugging it into the terminal near the door. You boot up the device and begin cycling through the options. Okay, and then with the device set up, you hit the enter key on the unlock option and turn your attention towards the partition that stands between you and the engineering department. And yes, I did choose Cassandra's keycard and not my own, just because I'm weirdly paranoid all of a sudden. Unlike the other doors, the PST's battery power has been used to open. This blast door is inches thick and comprised almost entirely of solid steel. You watch tentatively as a low grinding sound emanates from the ceiling for about 10 seconds before the door even begins to move. Like the others, the opening process is agonizingly slow. In the darkness of the thoroughfare, time seems to lose all meaning as you watch the door almost imperceptibly work its way upwards. After a few minutes, the barely noticeable progress comes to a halt and the low grinding sound stops, with the blast doors giving you just over a foot clearance between it and the floor. Turning your attention back towards the PST, you see a graphic of an empty battery with a cross through it blinking on the screen. Oh no. That's a very determined image. I didn't know I was so bishy. Knowing that the blast door is being kept open by the device's dwindling battery power, drop to the floor and, grabbing the PST, begin to crawl forward into engineering. There's just enough clearance for you to worm your way underneath it, but the smooth panel floor turning to grating makes it an uncomfortable experience. By the time you make it halfway through, with your feet still sticking out through the aft thoroughfare, the grinding noise that had stopped with the door starts back up again. No, 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 no. You shove the PST ahead of you through the small gap, being mindful to not yank out the cable plugged into the underside of the terminal. Ignoring the grating now, you quickly scrum the rest of the way until clear of the door. Then, rolling onto your back, you grab the PST's cable and give it a swift tug, pulling it out of the terminal on the other side and back to you just before the blast door drops, Indiana Jones style. That was way too close. You stand up and quickly pick up the PST, which still has the low battery warning blinking on its screen. Chief? The call is met with the oppressive silence that somehow seems worse in the vast space of the engineering department. Chief, it's me, Lieutenant Finch. I've got the PST. Chief! Making your way past various systems, terminals, stations, and machinery, you continue to call out to the Chief, but there's no response. Where the hell did you go? As you continue your way deeper into engineering, you grab the radio. Chief! Pick up the phone! Never charge the phone. All she do is hee-haw chip and line and never charge it. Just like the last time you tried, no one answers and all you hear is static. She's eating hot chips. Dart down different catwalks, trying to find the Chief, your mind racing as to where she could be. The vending machines aren't working. Chief! With a low battery warning illuminating your face in increasingly small intervals with its constant flashing, you stop. Looking down at the PST screen, you make a decision. Well, I've done everything else myself. Turning back from the main section of engineering, you make a beeline over to the room that holds the central computer.
Big functions. I'm surprised you like it.
I don't think I've ever had flaming monkey though.
But they honestly taste really good. Like, they're obviously really bad for you, but for some reason I really like it really spicy.
Guess we'll have to track down some flaming hot Cheetos.
I want to try Takis as well.
Takis. Yeah, they can advertise a lot lately.
Takis Fuego.
Fuego. Fueguissimo.
They're very like...
Fuegasmo. Yeah, there's been a bunch of adverts lately about Taki apparently painting shit. Like all of Birmingham's blue or something.
I want to try that.
Do you know someone in the garage?
I think so. Because I think they have the lime spicy ones.
We'll check it out. I'll swing by after work or something. We'll see if you're good enough. My treat you to some Taki.
I remember when I had the flaming hot chicken, and a few hours later, like, my shit was orange and my asshole was like burning on fire.
I mean, that had to have been the next day, surely. Or you ate something else.
Yeah, next day, I guess. It was just awful. Like, my shit was just bright.
I thought you were going to say my bumhole was orange. I was like, going to ask how the hell you could possibly have known that.
No, my shit was just bright orange and it really burned. My asshole was like, it was fine.
I love the fact that we have taste receptors there.
Really? What do you mean? How does that work?
We have a small cluster of taste receptors in our bumholes.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, nature is a joke, and evolution is cosmic life.
That doesn't make. Why is it there?
So that you can know that you've eaten some Fueguissimo crisps the night before. I don't know. Do I look like God? Am I God?
I'm
Am
gonna
I?
have to Google this.
You go ahead. Why does my bumhole taste it? She's doing it, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not gonna phrase it
She's
like.
googling why does my bumhole taste my poop.
No, I'm gonna say like
Why does my bumhole hurt after Fueguissimo Cheetos?
Why did the house have taste receptors?
Butt house. Is it butt house? Turning back, yeah, everyone heard it. Turning back from the main section of engineering, you make a beeline over to the room that holds the central computer and the Foy Gizmo Cheetos. Your footsteps on the
It doesn't have taste buds.
I didn't say taste buds.
It says it has sensory membranes that sit inside this.
Yeah, taste receptors, not taste buds.
Does sperm have taste receptors?
Sperm? No, probably not. Sperm don't have anything, do they? They just have genetic information. That's weird.
I don't know why that was a question.
Because some people just ask all the questions. Any question that comes to mind, and they will ask it.
Some testicles do that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. Because they say that you've also got some on the soles of your feet. They say that if you wrap your feet in garlic or your balls in garlic, you can taste it.
Ew.
Footsteps on the grating going through the silence of garlic and Foy's more cheese. Did you just wink at me, pretty beastie? Now is not playtime. You may as well finish things. As you begin to run, the PST starts to beep and the battery symbol flashes even more rapidly. If you're running out of the battery, then don't use what you've got left, flashing and beeping. Running at full pelt now towards the central computer. Yeah, I rescued it. You happy, bitch? You reach it just to the PST's whole screen, cycling between showing the warning and nothing at all. Once you arrive at the doorway that leads to the central computer, you know what you've got to do. Once you arrive at the doorway that leads to the central computer, you know what you've got to do. That! Wasting no time, you withdraw the cable and hurriedly plug it into the terminal with one hand, while scrolling through the options with the other. Now we're going to use Cassandra's key code. Now, there. As soon as the door begins to open, you jump to it and start pushing it and force it open. Once you've made the gap large enough, you slip through to at the exact same moment you hear the PST power down and the door slides back shut. It takes a moment, but your eyes adjust to the darkness of the room. Looking around, you see that it is a little bigger than a cleaning or a crew member's shower cubicle. Is that some sort of commentary? Masses of thick cabling run from the ceiling and floor along the walls. Towards the end of the room, opposite the doorway. On the far side of it is a huge screen with a keyboard positioned below it at about waist height. Stepping forwards towards the interface, you run your hand over the keys. The computer shows no sign of life, even after you push random buttons. Simply mashing the keyboard doesn't produce any results, so instead you begin to feel your way over its casing in the darkness, trying to find what might be a power. It's that there. Oops. No, eventually you find a rocker switch set to the side of the device. You flick it to the alternate position once, but nothing happens. No other options, you flick it back to the position it was in. This time, the screen illuminates and you hear electronics come to life. Yay! We saved it. We's alive. As a hard drive somewhere beyond the screen begins to whir loudly, the screen transitions from the boot screen to a password input screen. After everything you've been through, you're now one input away from getting the ship back online. Finally, all right. And enter. In the final flourish, you strike the return button. An immense feeling of satisfaction fills you as you watch the computer work its way through the startup process. Names of systems show up and are followed by the status changing from offline to active. A faint draft runs down your neck, which you take to mean life support and ventilation is back online. Alright, hold on, Cassie, Wait, what? No, come on. You're hit with a gut punch of panic as the visuals on the screen begin to warp. Fragments of text scatter and lines of code split and distort as a strange noise squeals in the machine. Don't do this. Unsure of what's going on, but begin to think that it's your fault. You look over the keyboard again, continually striking any key that seems like it may stop this process. End, escape, pause, pause, pause. That's South Central Positronics. Come on. Whoa. Profiles. Ugh, what's going on? Suddenly as it started, the computer's erratic activity ceases. The only document left on the screen, Cassie's personnel file. Cassie's file? Wait, why? You pause, unsure whether you should do anything more, leave it as it is. You can tell from the ambient noise that it has returned. The ship is back online. But why would the computer freak out like this? Why would it pull up Cassie's file? Maybe because I used Cassie's keypad? Doing your best to understand what you just saw, you tentatively reach your hand out towards the keyboard. Still unsure of what you could do to find out what just happened, but can't help but feel like whatever it wasn't right. Finch, we need you up on the bridge right now! You withdraw your hand, instead grabbing the radio to answer Lieutenant Lord. Alright, I'm on my way back now. How's Lieutenant Quinn doing? There's no time for her, get up here now! You curse under your breath as you turn to leave the room. You've learned now that if Lieutenant Lord doesn't intend to be helpful, she won't be. Rather than attempting to argue, you make your way through the ship back towards the bridge. Everything's back right again. As the elevator doors hiss open, you step onto the bridge. You see Lieutenant Lord frenziedly flicking switches and turning dials on an instrument panel, stopping every so often to type commands into her station. Cassie, meanwhile, remains unconscious on the bridge floor. I'm here, Lieutenant. What else is wrong now? You hurry over to Cassie and kneel down, sliding your hands under her back and legs in preparation to pick her up and take her to the newly accessible sickbay. It's the O'Brien. With a single movement, you stand and bring Cassandra up from the floor. What about it? It's gone. It was there. April 23rd, planetary calendar 214. Despite the successful reactivation of the JFS Gundog Central... Oh, twitchy finger, sorry. Central computer by me, the JFS O'Brien could not be contacted and was no longer coming up on sensors. Well, what am I supposed to do about that? After taking Lieutenant Commander Quinn to the sickbay, Lieutenant Finch, alongside Cadet Grange, are tasked with sweeping the ship for faults or damage, whilst Lieutenant Lord used Set's chief Cathay's to work, helping her locate the other ship. The JFS O'Brien is eventually located, just as Captain Bartholomew calls an emergency meeting. Outer Jovian space. The bridge of the Jovian patrol ship, JFS Gundog. As you, the Chief and Lieutenant Lord, stand to attention, waiting for the captain to begin the meeting, the sound of an approaching elevator is the only noise that can be heard in the tense silence of the bridge. Ensign Hansen Cruz, entering the bridge, reporting his orders. Hansen states, performing a lazy salute as he steps out of the elevator and onto the bridge. You shift slightly as you watch him enter. You knew you were waiting for someone, but why Hansen? He pauses for a moment, and you see him take stock of everything present. Your shoulders tense up, and you inadvertently clench your jaws and head straight towards you. At the last moment, he steps to your side and takes place in the lineup next to you without so much as a sideways glance. Hello, PP. Hello. You remain on edge, prepared to feed. But your attention is quickly taken by the captain as she finishes reviewing the readouts from the control panel on her chair and stands up. At ease. The four of you relax slightly, although, with the exception of Hansen, you all maintain a formal stance. Now that we're all assembled, we can begin. First of all, well done to all of you for your actions whilst I was indisposed. For a brief moment, the captain's eyes meet yours, and you do your best not to react. Aside from the doctor, you were confident that you were the only person on board who knew the nature of the captain's indisposition. Despite your best efforts, you scowl slightly. You hadn't had much time to think about anything beyond the situation at hand, but the information in your report you'd read had begun to creep into your thoughts. You knew that now wasn't the time to bring it up, but eventually you'd need to deal with this information in one way or another. Closing your eyes and exhaling, you try to return your face to its neutral countenance, and hope that the captain doesn't notice that flicker of emotion. As you push your thoughts regarding the report to one side, you instead find yourself wondering if the captain is currently in a fit state to be organizing a mission. Your cooperation, ingenuity, and composure under pressure have been noted, and I will be recommending formal awards to be applied to your records. Out of the corner of your eye, you notice Vanilla nod in agreement, but the rest of you remain still. Now onto the matter at hand. As of 11:47 Jovian Standard Time, a signal of unknown origin was received, which shut down not just the Gundog central computer, but also all of its emergency backup systems as well. With Commander Quinn unexpectedly taken ill, Lieutenant Lord took command and Lieutenant Finch was able to carry out her plan to access the hangar via the external airlock. He'd been too busy carrying out an assignment of the ship's systems assessment of the ship's systems alongside Dalton to submit an incident report, and you knew that the chief had been tasked by Vanessa with locating the unresponsive O'Brien. You bite your tongue and glance back to Vanessa, who nods again, the corners of her mouth curling upwards. The captain was clearly working from a biased interpretation of events. Fuck you! From there, Lieutenant Finch was able to obtain a portable sub-terminal and the codes for the reactivation of the central computer, a process he carried out successfully at 1327. Although the gun dog is now operational, we have not been able to make contact with the O'Brien. She had something hanging from her mouth. We can only assume that whatever interfered with the gun dog systems had the same impact on the O'Brien. Unfortunately, it would appear their crew had not been able to reactivate its systems, as we have received no communications from them whatsoever. Chief Cathays, do we have an update on the O'Brien? The group turns to look at the chief as she steps forward, and you realize that this is the first time we've seen her outside of the engineering or the hangar. Although she stands as tall as ever, there's something about her presence that feels diminished. She's snuggling and offering you her bum, apparently. Yes, ma'am. We've not had any response from the O'Brien's transponder, and the normal sensors haven't been able to pick up any of the usual activity outside the ship. However, you hear Vanessa tut as the chief briefly pauses briefly. But that is, Lieutenant Lord and I realized that by using the infrared targeting sensors in fire control, we could pick up the O'Brien itself as if it were debris. We've located it at 43 degrees off the starboard bow at a distance of roughly 300 kilometers. Resolution gets a bit scrappy at that range, but we're not seeing any external signs of activity. I see. Lieutenant Lord, how long until we dock with them to provide assistance? I think the Chief is best equipped to handle that question, ma'am. The Chief pauses for a moment. You know the answer to this question, but so should the Chief and Vanessa. As the silence drags on, you begin to wonder why neither of them are forthcoming. Chief Cathays. The pause only becomes more loaded as the seconds pass. Whilst you have no idea what's happening here, you can feel the tension between the Chief and Vanessa build. Stand. As the tension fills the room, you shift awkwardly from one foot to the other. It wouldn't surprise you if Vanessa was trying something to get one over on the Chief somehow. Thinking of your recent argument, you didn't want to get yourself caught up in her machinations. You decide to remain silent, doing your best not to attract any further ire from Vanessa. Chief Cathays, I asked how long until we can dock with them to provide assistance. The Chief grits her teeth and then answers hesitantly, We won't be able to, Captain. The engines are still offline. The force shut down and engaged the safety mechanism which ended the reaction because I've been helping. Vanessa's sharp tut cuts off the Chief, who falls silent for a second before carrying on. I haven't had the opportunity to restart them yet. It's a 6-hour process. The captain lets out an exasperated sigh as she hears this information, making no effort to conceal her frustration. You always thought of her as distant or disinterested, considering her current state, and you had to wonder how much of that was her simply working her way through a hangover. I see. The captain stands silent for a moment, keeping her eyes closed and pinching the bridge of her nose with her thumb and forefinger. Suddenly her eyes open and she stands completely upright, assuming a posture he's surprised to see from her, that manages to communicate an air of not just authority but capability. We'll be carrying out a mission as follows. The four of you snap back to attention. Even Hansen seems to take this announcement seriously. As we're not able to reach the O'Brien with a gun dock to provide support, we'll be doing the next best thing. Ensign Cruz and Lieutenant Finch will head over in an armored frame to provide assistance. You clench your teeth and your body goes rigid. Not only would this be your second trip into space in the span of a few hours, but you'll be doing it with Hansen for company. Your eyes dart across to Hansen, whose attention remains on the captain. You can't be sure, but you swear you see a flicker of a smile on his face. we'll be working on the assumption that the same issues affecting the Gundog are affecting the O'Briens. So, Lieutenant Finch will take a portable sub-terminal, locate the captain or second in command, and then utilize their access codes to assist their chief engineer in reactivating the ship. If there are any complications, or we're too late, then our second priority will be to obtain the O'Brien's black box. At the very least, we can hopefully gather some information on what's out there that could immediately disable 2 Swift-class ships. Lieutenant Finch, Ensign Cruz, do you both understand? The pair of you salute and in unison respond, yes, Captain. Yes, Captain. Chief Cathays, I want you to provide a fully charged portable sub-terminal and guidance on removing the Swift-class's black box. After that, prepare Gundog 1 for launch, and then I want those engines back online. Understood? Yes, Captain. Lieutenant Lord, you'll be overseeing this mission. Understood? Yes, Captain. Very good. At 16:03, this mission commences at 16:30. Desist. With this final instruction out of the way, you will salute the captain and then turn to leave. The chief is the first of you to reach the elevators. She steps into one without waiting for anyone else, pressing the button for her destination and disappearing behind its 2 doors as they hiss. She's swift like lightning, but not lightning enough. Without paying you any attention, Vanessa and Hansen both step into the remaining elevator, with Vanessa hitting a button as soon as the pair have boarded. As the doors close, you see her turn to Hansen, cross her arms, and then begin to speak to her, but her words are cut off before you hear them. She got you. She wins.
She didn't.
You remain on the silent bridge with the captain, who you hear return to your chair. Whilst you wait for an elevator to return, you go over what you might need to do in your head. It'll be the chief's responsibility to get you a charged portable sub-terminal, and Hansen and Dalton will be responsible for pre-flight checks. Aside from getting a spacesuit from the hangar, you realize you don't really have anything you need to do before the mission starts. With less than half an hour to go before you'll be taking off, you don't have much time to do anything either, though. You might have the opportunity to visit a few other crew members to check in on them, you think, but it might be a push to visit everyone. Eventually, the elevator the chief left returns, and the door is open. Alright, a quick save there, and then I'm just going to go and pee, so I will be right back. And I return. We did that, apparently. Whew. Let's get back to it. Right, so I've got limited time, apparently. Well, obviously I'm gonna go to sickbay. Can I? Oh yeah, I can. Ah. As the elevator doors open, you're immediately confronted by Vanessa standing in front of you, her arms crossed and her foot tapping impatiently. Well, it took you long enough, Lieutenant Finch. You sidestep her and make your way into the central hub. As you do, she turns to follow you. My apologies, Lieutenant. I didn't realize I was needed so urgently. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Finch. Your frustration with Vanessa has cooled over the past few hours, as you'd spent time with Dalton, and have been carrying out duties that kept you well away from her. But, back in her presence, you remembered how tense things got between you on the bridge and over the radio. Lieutenant Lord, I've got a mission to be preparing for. Is there anything I can help you with right now, or can I get going? It's nothing much, Lieutenant. I just wanted to say that you did a good job on getting the gun dog operational again. Something about Vanessa's manner makes you instantly uneasy. Considering how she behaved recently, praise was the last thing you'd expected. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I did what I had to do. And for that you've received a much-deserved commendation on your record. You roll your eyes and begin to walk away again, unwilling to deal with whatever mind games Vanessa was attempting to play. Wait a moment, Lieutenant Finch. All I wanted to do was congratulate you. You deserve it as a member of the crew who's gone above and beyond. What's this about, Lieutenant? You ask, your patience running thin. Straight to the task at hand. That's what I like about you, Lieutenant. Now, a proficient, able crew member like yourself. You know what that... You know what it means to do your duty, but you've seen how the captain and her second carry out their affairs on this ship. What are you getting at? All I want to know, Lieutenant, is whether you think that crew members like yourself, Chief Engineer Cathays, Cadet Grange, and the rest deserve a competent commander. I'm just gonna leave. Your recent discovery about the captain comes back to the front of your mind, but instead of answering, you make a move to walk past Vanessa, fully intending to not get involved in whatever she's planning. Lieutenant Lord, I really don't have time for this. Based on your recent conduct, Lieutenant, you seem pretty reliable, so I wanted to let you know ahead of time. Be keeping a close eye on you on this mission to see who's capable and who isn't. It's important to know who you can trust to do what needs to be done, after all. Anyway, nice to talk with you, Lieutenant. Good luck on the upcoming mission. With that, Vanessa turns on her heel and heads off down the Forsyth thoroughfare, leaving you alone in Central Hub. Oh, Lieutenant, do your best. I'll be watching. Oh, I bet you will. You're watching me real good. Anyway, I wanted... No, I know. First of all, I need to go here. That's the mess hall. As you walk by the mess hall, you stop to take a look inside. Everything seems to be operating as normal, from the lazy spinning of the extractor fan to the food fender cycling through illuminating its different options. At the table and facing away from you is Haru. You watch them as they idly swirl the contents of their cup of coffee before taking a sip. If they've noticed you, they aren't letting on, but from the looks of it, they seem deep in thought. You don't particularly have anything you want to ask them, but then again, you decide it may be good to check in before you head out. I'm not that hungry right now, but I know who'd appreciate this. Yep, exactly what I thought. I'm sorry, I'm just going to leave you be. I'm just going to do a quick safety save. You never know. So, oh yeah. So, I just wanted to point something out because Haru obviously is what's the term? I forget. Not necessarily gender fluid, but obviously they use they/them pronouns. And the game itself obviously offers you that as an option for writing purposes. You can choose between he, him, they, them, she, her. And I've noticed a handful of reviews of this game popping up saying that they don't recommend it based on the fact that it gives you that option, and I just want to put this out there and say, the fuck, guys. I mean, I'm not saying anyone out there is good at this thing. I'm pretty sure the majority of you, whoever are watching this, you know, either don't care enough about that to make any sort of committal either way, or, you know, are completely for the idea of fair representation. And I feel that anyone who wants to go out of their way to say that something like this isn't worth your time, based solely on the fact that it provides that option from a writing perspective. Like, this isn't necessarily, like, this game is not some LGBT, like, think piece. This is not some sort of propaganda work, you know. Nothing about it is working to make you aware of touchy subjects like trans rights and, you know, gender identity, things like that. There is nothing in this so far that has even approached the level of anything beyond simply accepting. And I feel this is doing it the right way. Just in case anyone needs, just in case anyone needs it, because obviously I know that I'm just your average white dude from England. I'm bisexual. It's actually the first time I've properly admitted that openly and honestly towards any sort of like public facing thing. But it is known of people, of me, that is who I am. The majority of people who know me, either they know that for a fact because either I've said it, or they just spend time with me and they're not surprised. So, as a part of that community, granted one who's pretty much on the outside because I feel that my position is not necessarily one that faces much prejudice, I feel that anyone who wants to go out of their way to deride a piece of media like this for simply providing that option really needs to reevaluate their thinking. And I know this is completely out of nowhere. This is obviously completely off topic and probably unnecessary because no one's going to give a shit about my opinion, but that's fine. I just wanted to put it out there that if you've picked this game up, or if you're thinking about this game, and any other game that's like this, that provides you with the option, that maybe has a character like Haru who is described purely as they and them, and your first response is, I don't recommend this, I want nothing to do with this, I feel you need to sort of reevaluate your ideals, because there is nothing about this experience that has in any way, shape or form been preachy or targeted or working with some sort of intent to sort of push a narrative. If you're denying yourself, if you're enjoying yourself, if you're denying yourself this experience simply because of that, then you're the one who's losing out, and you're helping to propagate these utterly bullshit concepts of reacting negatively to it. And that's just unnecessary. Like I said, I scrolled through the reviews for this game a couple of weeks ago and came across, out of all of, I think it was, at the time there was about 360 reviews, and out of all the ones that I came through, only 4 of them were not recommends. One of those was down to the fact that the person clearly did not like the style, did not like the genre, did not like the writing. Totally fair. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. You're not going to enjoy it. But 3 of those, the other 3 that I came across, were all said the same thing about how the inclusion of the ability to choose, not have it thrown down your throat, not have you be aware of it all the time. Literally, it was just a case of how would you like this game to refer to you when other characters are referring to your character. He, her, he, him, she, her, they, them. They found that offensive and wouldn't recommend the game as a result. Don't buy into that discourse. And if you see these kinds of comments, you see these kinds of people, although I want to say don't engage with them, I also want to try and highlight some sort of ridiculousness about it, you know? I'm not entirely sure where you're supposed to go with it, what you're supposed to do with it. That's probably for a better thinker than myself. But don't listen to that stuff if you're on the fence about it. And if you are, try to counteract it in some way. Maybe provide your own positive review. Like, obviously, if you've not played it and you're basing it solely on me playing it, then I wouldn't necessarily put it much of a positive review. I would recommend you buy it yourself and play it yourself so you can put your own opinion down. Don't base your opinion on my opinion, because that's equally silly. But yeah. Provide a better voice to drown out these other ones who are just going to provide unnecessary commentary. Because again, 3 of those people are really missing out on a great experience. Simply because they said, oh, I'm not going to play this. Like, they all had registered times, and they all had the same registered time of 0.3 hours. So clearly they got as far as that option, and we're like, nope, not doing this. They're fools, because they're the ones who've missed out on everything we've gone through so far. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, just because it has been on my mind. I did briefly discuss it with John, the writer of this game, earlier. And I just wanted to say my piece on that, because when it comes to modern media, obviously there are absolutely pieces of media that push a narrative, and there are many more that fight against that perceived narrative. But ultimately, the vast majority of things are like this, where it's not a big deal. No one is running around going, oh my god, Haru goes by they, them, and we can't tell what gender they're supposed to be. Like, no one is making a fuss about that. Literally, I mean, we barely spent any time with them, but every time they've been talked about, it's literally just as, hey, they're cool. They're a friend. Like, just a person. That's all it is. Just treat people like people. My number 1 life philosophy is don't be a dick. And ultimately, you can do that easier than you can do anything else. Just don't be a dick. Anyway, sorry, rant over. I just wanted to throw that out there. I apologize. Let's get back to seeing what's happening with Cassie. The elevator door slides open, and you raise your hand to shield your eyes from the aggressive glare of the sick bay's powerful lighting. As you've come to expect, the strong scent of clinical disinfectant pervades the room. As harsh as it is, it's infinitely preferable to the powerful odor of the captain's quarters. Scanning the room, you see that everything seems in order. The doctor sits at his desk, absorbed in his datapad. All the medical supplies are carefully arranged in the cabinets, and the surgery wing continues to look immaculate. The only thing out of place is... there he is! It's me! Cassandra, who had been idly laying back in one of the beds playing with her hair, had seen you the moment you stepped into the room and swung her legs around to the side of the bed, floating herself off it and towards you. I heard all about how you'd... Ah! Whoa, Cassie, careful. You dart forward just in time to grab her before the stumble she'd taken turned into a fall. Alright, let's get you back to the bed. Ah, thanks. In one swift motion, you scoop Cassie up in your arms and carry her back to the beds, setting her down on the one she'd just been laying on. Okay. I think I may have made that journey on my own. Well, better safe than sorry, right? Still looking after me after everything you've done already, my hero. Your cheeks go flush, and you look away for a moment, captain's acknowledgement of your actions had been so perfunctory that it's barely registered, but Cassie's wholehearted praise has you suddenly feeling sheepish. No, it wasn't a big deal. It was just what I had to do. Pretty sure anyone else would have done the same if they were in my position. Don't sell yourself short. It is a big deal. Saving an entire crew from a complete system failure with no chain of command isn't exactly something that we get trained for. Plus, I didn't hear about anyone else going on a spacewalk from one end of the ship to the other to get the equipment they needed. If doing all that doesn't make you a hero, I don't know what does. You smile and look back at Cassie. As self-conscious as you feel being called a hero, her assessment of events isn't wrong. Thanks, Cassie. I'm pretty sure I should still be thanking you. I didn't think Vanessa could have carried me down here like you did. You bite your tongue at Cassie's mention of Vanessa. You had a strong feeling that Vanessa wouldn't have even tried. You push the thought from your mind. You don't have much time with Cassie before your mission is due to begin, and the last thing you want to be doing is thinking about Vanessa. Don't worry about it. How are you doing? Oh, me, I'm doing great, aren't I, Doc? Although he doesn't look up from the database, you see a flicker of recognition on the doctor's face. No, Miss Quinn, you're not doing great. You had a sudden and intense migraine, followed by an unexplained extended loss of consciousness, which in turn has been followed by a persistent and ongoing headache. I would not look to describe your condition as great. Cassie, why didn't you tell me you were still feeling that? Oh, come on, what are you, my doctor? No, Miss Quinn, he is not your doctor. It's an expression, Doc. So I've got a bit of a headache right now. I bet it's nothing. It's probably just because I pulled a double shift to cover the captain without eating anything but a bag of chips and 3 chocolate bars. Cassie, Miss Quinn, you'd advise me you've been sticking rigorously to the Nutri-Shake schedule I'd laid out for. Okay, everyone, jeez. I know, but here I am, hydrated and full of electrolytes and on doctor's orders. I'm going to be fine. So anyway, how are you doing, India? Are you able to finish your shift now that the gun dog's back up and running? And you've made sure everything's okay? Well, actually, we've not been able to make contact with the O'Brien. So I've been ordered to head over there in an armored frame. Oh no, honey, that seems really... with Hanson. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. How are you feeling about it? I'm not looking forward to it. If I'm being honest, I'm really not looking forward to it. You let out a deep sigh as various thoughts about the mission fill your mind. I'm not sure what's going to be worse, being stuffed inside of an AF with him for the flight over, or having to work with him once we get on board the O'Brien. I'll be his superior officer whilst we're over there. I don't even want to think about how he'll take that. You taper off as you begin to mentally run through all the terrible outcomes you can imagine coming from such a situation. Hey, don't worry about it. As much as Hanson is like he is, he's still part of the JCF and one of our crewmates. He likes to throw his weight around when he can get away with it, but I don't think he'll do it on an important mission. I think he's a little too proud to ruin his reputation as an ace pilot by starting a fight inside of his AF. Besides, once you're on the O'Brien, you can just get to work helping the other crew and ignore him. Well, that's the other thing. Looks like whatever happened to the gun dog has happened to the O'Brien. Since we've not been able to identify any activity coming from them, there's a good chance that their crew hasn't made it. Oh no! Yeah. Hey, come on. They may not have got their ship back up and running, but maybe they got their own savvy chief engineer who's figured out a solution that keeps them all safe. And on top of that, if they're really lucky, they've got their own heroic security officer who's saving the entire crew right now. Yeah, you're right. I'm sure it'll be fine. You do your best to match Cassie's enthusiasm, but you hadn't forgotten the chill in the air of the gun dog just before you got back on the line. One of the first signs the ship wouldn't be able to sustain its crew for much longer. That had been over 3 hours ago. Hey. Whatever happens, it'll be alright. You've already done incredible things today, way more than anyone could have ever expected. You're gonna be alright. Thanks, Cassie. Besides, you said you'd book us tickets for that new water park in the Europa cluster. I'm not going to let anything happen that'll stop us from going. Now get out there and nail this mission. Yes. Hey, what are you still doing here? Don't you have a daring rescue to pull off? Well, I thought I'd check in one last time before I left to make sure you're really okay. Ah, you sweetie. But I'm fine, really, totally fine. Not fine. I'm currently under supervision to assess the extent of and potential causes of any ailment that I may be suffering from. However, my current condition is currently stable and does not appear to be life-threatening. Although I can think of something that could speed up my recovery. Oh yeah, what? It's nothing. Actually, don't worry about it. No, come on, tell me. No, really, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You focus on getting ready for your mission. Can I... Oh, you mean something like this? That's exactly what I was thinking of. Look at that, since I'm so... Oh, look at that. Since I'm so good at treatment, maybe I should consider a move to the medical corps. Now that I think about it, it might suit you. You always really liked that nurse uniform. But now that you've solved this medical emergency, you need to focus on getting ready for your mission. Get out there and nail it, then. Yes, ma'am. Lieutenant Finch, is there something I can help you with? Oh, sorry, Doctor, I didn't realize you were still there. I am not currently needed anywhere else, Lieutenant. Yeah, of course. As you're still here, I assume that you have a medical requirement. Oh no, I was just going. Very good, Lieutenant. See about talking to Haru. Ensign Rumney. Oh, Finch, what's going on? What's a hero like you doing stopping by the mess hall? Hanson told me he was taking you for a ride over to the O'Brien. You picking up some snacks for the trip? I was just checking up on some of the crew before I left, making sure everyone's doing okay. Oh wow, what a professional. I'm doing alright. I was sleeping in my quarters when the power went out. Didn't even notice until Hanson started banging on the door. That's good. I'm glad you're doing okay. Yeah. Yes, Ensign. Thanks for helping Hanson out. Oh well, you know, it's my duty, right? Yeah, I guess it is. Still, he's my flight partner. So if you did him a solid, you did me a solid. Keep it up. Maybe you aren't the coward you think you are. What? Haha, lighten up, Lieutenant. Alright, Ensign. If you're okay, then I'll leave you to it. Don't be like that, Lieutenant. You just need to chill out. If you need any help with that, you can stop by my quarters at any time. Oh, I bet I can. Let's go check out fire control, see if he's got anything. As the door to fire control slides open, you're met with the familiar sounds of tinny music escaping from Dylan's oversized headphones, letting you know that the gunner is at his station. Looking around at all the illuminated screens and flashing readouts, it appears that everything here is back up and running as normal. Although there's so much information on display, you've got no idea if that's a correct assessment. Leaning slightly to catch a glimpse of Dylan, you can see that he's currently zoned out in appreciation of the track he's listening to, oblivious to your presence. Knowing that he would have recently had his personal sanctuary intruded upon by both Lieutenant Lord and the Chief, it feels cruel to disturb him. But your years of being a security officer kick in, and you find it hard to resist the urge to check in. Hey, Dylan. Warrant Officer Dees. Dylan. Yes, latest report. No update on the... Oh, hey, Lieutenant. Sorry about that. I just had the Chief and Lieutenant Lord crammed in here with me shouting at each other about finding the O'Brien. Lord wouldn't even let me perform the search with my headphones on, against regulations, like it makes a difference to what I can see. I didn't sign up for that kind of stress. Anyway, what's up? Oh, nothing much. Just thought I'd check in on you. See how you're doing after everything. Ah, you know me, Lieutenant. As long as I get to listen to my music, it's all good. And, as long as Lieutenant Lord never comes in here again, I guess. What about you, sir? I heard that we've got you to thank for getting the gun dog back on her feet. You doing all right? Yeah, I guess so. I've been too busy with running a sweep of the ship to stop and think about it, really. Well, with needing to do a spacewalk and all, rather you than me. Closest I want to get to space is seeing it through these monitors. Yeah. Anyway, if it's okay with you, Lieutenant, I'm supposed to be keeping an eye on the O'Brien, and I was right in the middle of a gnarly Trish and the Replicant song. Mind if I get back to it? No problem. Take it easy, Gunadies. Thanks, sir. Okay. So I suppose... It's the hangar, really, isn't it? Sort of stuff. As the ship's gravity disappears, you slowly float down the final few steps leading into the hangar. Once your almost weightless feet connect with the steel flooring on the catwalk, you kick off it and towards the guardrail, grabbing it before you float past and bringing yourself to a stop. Ahead of you are the typical sights of the hangar, but for the first time since you boarded the gun dog, its expanse is filled with noise and motion rather than the usual near silence and stillness. You see Dalton floating from one segment of the furthest armored frame to another, clearly in the process of carrying out its pre-flight checks. As he arrives at each new part, he opens an access panel, checks the hidden machinery and mechanisms underneath, and then slams the panel closed, occasionally stopping to take one tool or another from his belt to apply adjustments to the frame's inner workings. Aside from the erratic slamming of panels and whirring of electronic tools coming from Dalton, you can also hear the back and forth of bickering between Hansen and Vanessa. You watch as Hansen, donning his flight suit, snaps at the lieutenant and then kicks off into the empty space of the hangar, swiftly followed by Vanessa, who does not let up on whatever it is she's trying to discuss. Glancing at your watch, you see that it's almost scheduled time to depart and start the mission. No use putting it off any longer, I guess. Let's talk with Dalton. Doing your best to not draw the attention of the squabbling Hansen and Vanessa, you wait until Dalton turns your way and then wave at him, gesturing for him to come over to you once you've caught its attention. Hey Dalton, how are the preparations going? Oh, Lieutenant, preparations are, at ease, Cadet. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Don't worry about it. Everything alright, though? Oh yeah, everything's fine, thanks. It's just that this is the first time I've actually had to prepare an armored frame for a real mission. Every other time it's just been for a drill or a test or something. I really don't want to screw it up. Hey, take it easy, Cadet. I'm sure you've done a good job. But what if I've done something wrong? Then you and Ensign Crewis would... Slow down a second, Dalton. Sorry, sir. No problem, Cadet. Just take it easy. Tell me, have you ever screwed up any of your armored frame drills before? Well, no. Or any tests? No, I guess not. So why would you think you've done something wrong this time? I mean... I'm sorry, I guess I was just getting a bit nervous. It's alright, Cadet. We all get a bit nervous the first time we have to do something for real. But I've seen how hard you work and what the Chief puts you through, so I'm sure you've got it all done up to her standards. Thanks, sir. Although, she always makes me double-check the actuators. What if I've forgotten the actuators? Ah! As Hansen and Vanessa continue their argument, oblivious to your presence, you maintain your grip on the guardrail. It's almost time for the mission, so you could get ready to depart. But if you've got something you wanted to do before you left, now it would be the time. Was there anything I needed to do before I set off? Don't leave yet. You drum your fingers slowly on the guardrail and glance back at your watch. It's getting close to the mission start time, but you've still got long enough to catch up on some last-minute business. I'm gonna go check out on the Chief. As you make your way into the engineering section, you relish the various sounds coming from the now functioning machinery, the thrum of moving parts, the buzz of electrical systems, the repetitive pulse of various cooling systems. With your newfound appreciation for the activity taking place all around, you wonder if this is how the Chief feels. On that subject, "Hey Chief, are you around?" You call out, doing your best to shout over the noise. "Chief?" You wait a moment but get no response. Looking around, you can't see her anywhere. It must be in the engine room. Engines! Moving from the engineering section into one of the engine rooms, the first thing that strikes you is that the huge turbine-like machinery that fills the majority of the area is now still. You got so used to their constant motion and regular thrum that after your first few security reviews, you'd stop noticing it. But now that it was absent, the stillness of such a huge space made you uneasy. The only saving grace was that the cavernous structure of the engine room no longer filled with the sound of the engines. You could hear the chief's analytical monologue echoing across the expanse. You wouldn't have to do much more than follow it to its source to find her. So that's the detectors 1 through 7 calibrated against the background gamma signaling baseline. Now if I can... Hey Chief, how's it, no blockages in the coolant flow, no warping exterior heat sinks either. Chief, Oh, it's you, Lieutenant Finch. Don't you have a mission to be getting ready for? Well, yes, but I thought I'd check in on how you were doing before I had to leave. Oh, well, everything's as fine as it can be down here. The lost power didn't do any damage as all the fail-safes for the hard shutdown kicked in. So, because of... not the, ship, Chief. I wanted to check in on you. I'm fine, Lieutenant. I just need to get these engines back online. I would have had them online already if Lieutenant Lord didn't have me waste all that time finding the O'Brien. Once I told her that we could find them using the infrared targeting sensors, she should have left it up to Gunner D's and let me get on with things. I could have got back to figuring out what's causing the problems with our long-range communication system by now. Maybe even... That's something else I wanted to ask, Chief. What was happening between you and the Lieutenant Lord on the bridge? I've seen what she can get like, but I didn't think she'd be that way in front of the captain. Alright, Lieutenant, you know what? I've seen what you'll do for the ship and the crew, so in my book, that makes you alright. So I'm going to let you in on a secret, in case you hadn't figured it out already. The only reason any of us are on this ship is because the JCF didn't know what to do with us. Not bad enough to dismiss or court-martial, but too much of a liability to crew anything important. And I know that includes me. As a Union woman, I've butted heads with enough of the brass that they've used every trick in the book to get me out of the way and onto my last warning. So when Lieutenant Lord realized how pissed the captain would be that the engines hadn't reactivated, she threatened to pin this whole mess on me. That she'd reported the decision to delay the engine's reactivation as mine. That she'd report the decision to delay the engine's reactivation as mine if I didn't back up her story. The whole thing makes me sick. Some of us actually have important work to do and don't have time to be playing games with the crew to worm their way to the top. As much as I hate going along with it, I'm stuck for the time being. Jeez, I didn't realize Vanessa could be so... But don't worry about me, Lieutenant. I'm a big girl, I can look after myself. I'll figure out some way to deal with her. You just worry about getting back from the O'Brien safely, here? Thanks, Chief. Don't mention it. Although, one thing, Lieutenant. Yes, Chief. Don't interrupt me when I'm clearly in the middle of something extremely important. Yes, Chief. Now get out of here. Yes, Chief. Who is left? Hanson and Vanessa... Dr. Thingy... I wonder... Yes, Lieutenant, can I help you? You thought you'd known what you wanted to ask the captain, but in the moment you find the words catch in your throat, and you're suddenly unsure of yourself. You've got a lot of questions and not a lot of time. It doesn't help that some of these questions are more dangerous than others. I have a mission to prepare, and you need to be boarding that armored frame with Ensign Cruise soon. If you've got something to say, I suggest you do so quickly. I don't have a lot of time to complete this mission plan, so I can't talk with you for long. Based on the captain's terse response, you decide you should focus on the one thing that's most important to you right now. Damn. Now, that's some choices. I'm assuming I can only ask one of these right now, so... Why was Ensign Cruise here? After a moment, your mind settles on what had been bothering you the most during the meeting. I was just wondering, I know Ensign Cruise is part of the mission, but that wasn't planned until the end of the meeting. What was he doing here? It's just, I'd have thought that would be obvious, Lieutenant. Much like yourself, Chief Engineer Cathays and Lieutenant Lord, Ensign Cruz was a vital part of the effort to reactivate the Gundog systems. At least that's how I understand events from Lieutenant Lord's report. You should have known. Is there something I'm unaware of, Lieutenant? For a moment you consider asking the Captain exactly how it was that Vanessa had reported events, but you notice her fingers beginning to drum on the control panel. Oh no, Captain. In that case, I'm sure you understand both our respective responsibilities and will allow me to get on with mine. Yes, Captain, of course. You turn away from the Captain, but stop as she calls you back. Oh, Lieutenant. Yes, Captain. Good luck with the mission. Thank you, ma'am. Give me a second. Excuse me. I'm going to reload that because I want to know. About your condition, you draw a deep breath and hold on for a moment. You're well aware of the risk of what you're about to ask, but you know that you couldn't ignore what you'd seen in the captain's quarters, especially as she was about to send you out on a mission. I was just looking to check with you that you trail off as you try to find the most diplomatic way to word your concerns. I wanted to make sure that you were reporting. Alright, I'll be headed off. May I ask why you don't inquire about whether I'm alright, Lieutenant? Your previous conviction about the wisdom of his line of questioning begins to slowly fade under the Captain's firm gaze. Well, it's just after the condition you were in when I was in your quarters, Ooh, that's an angry face. Your stomach sinks like a rock, and you feel a chill move down your back as the Captain's gaze strikes you. Your words catch in your throat, and you find yourself stunned while you're unable to move or think. Lieutenant Finch, any condition I may have is thoroughly understood and managed by the ship's doctor, whose responsibility it is to ensure I am fit for duty. As such, it is not the head of security's task to make sure I'm all right. Is that understood? No other option available to you but to agree. You silently nod your head before releasing a strangled "Yes, ma'am." Well, thank you for your concern, Lieutenant, but if that's all, then I have a mission plan to complete. Yes, Captain. Very good. Dismissed. About the original mission. You've not been giving this thought as much attention as some of the other matters that had felt more pressing, but with Cassie in sickbay, the thought of the Gundog remaining in what could be extremely dangerous territory doesn't sit well with you. It's regarding your original mission. Based on current events, once we secure the O'Brien, what will our plan be? Well, Lieutenant, the Gundog's task was to provide backup or support as necessary. So what happens to that plan largely depends on what happens on board the O'Brien. If the crew are as resourceful as you If the crew are as resourceful as you and are alive and well, our task will be to get the O'Brien operational again. From there, we'll do our best to identify the source of whatever happened and alert JCF HQ. Of course, if those on board the O'Brien weren't as fortunate as we were, then the threat posed to a single Swift class would be deemed too great, and we'd make our report whilst heading back to a more secure territory. Meaning that if anyone on the O'Brien is dead, then our mission is already over. Why do you ask me that? Your stomach sinks as a sudden realization hits you. Once again, the outcome you find yourself hoping for the most is the one where you're kept away from the action by a turn of fate. But for that to happen, it would need to be like last time. You find yourself almost nauseated at the fact that you trade the well-being of everyone on board the O'Brien for both yours and Cassie's safety. Despite that, you couldn't stop yourself from having that thought. Lieutenant? No particular reason. I'm just looking to plan ahead. Very good, Lieutenant. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I've got a plan mission to complete. Yes, of course, ma'am. Thank you. With that, you step away from the captain, who resumes inputting information into the control panel. And finally, the dangerous one. That report in your desk. It takes a moment for you to work up the confidence to ask the question, as the captain fixes her gaze on you. Eventually, you decide the best approach is simply to be as direct as possible. I read the report, Captain. report, Lieutenant. You draw a deep breath. You've come this far. There was no sense in turning back now. The report on your desk. It was in there alongside the access codes. The captain looks deep in thought, trying to understand what you're talking about when the captain's expression takes you completely by surprise. Your normal look of lazy indifference instead replaced by a savage glare. You feel a chill down your back as the temperature of the whole room drops. What were you doing reading that report? The captain asks through clenched teeth. It was amongst the access codes and fell out. You had no business reading it. With respect, Captain, that report, Lieutenant, is not just restricted, it is personal and has nothing to do with you. This assertion from the captain strikes you like a slap to the face, and you feel an intense anger flow through you. Nothing to do with you. With respect, Captain, that report has everything to do with me. I was part of the Kalaki's armored frame flight, and so was Hansen. You see the captain's brow furrow as she continues to glare at you. Eventually, she stands up from her chair and walks to the far side of the bridge. The captain's silence drags on, unbearable now that you're finally at this moment. I just want to know why, Captain. What happened? Why did you send those ships forward? Lieutenant, we've all made mistakes. Her use of the word mistake makes you want to scream, as if that could explain what she'd done. The phrasing makes you inarticulate with rage as you try to interject but find yourself lost for words. Now you have an armored frame to be boarding and I have a mission to complete planning. Unless you want to make a mistake of your own, I recommend you prepare for your upcoming mission. Now is not the time, Lieutenant. Captain, dismissed, Lieutenant. Your fists clenched and mind racing, you stand in silence with the captain, meeting your glare with a cold, composed stare. Despite the rage you feel churning through your entire body, you find yourself barely able to move, let alone respond. Ah! With an exasperated yell, you turn away from the captain and head to the elevator, stepping inside and punching the button to send you to the central hub. You turn back just as the doors close, the captain's cool gaze still locked on you. As the elevator takes you to the central hub, you slam your fist into the nearby wall. Now may not be the time, you decide, but soon. You pace back and forth within the cramped confines of the elevator, barely holding on to your anger. Eventually, you rest your forearms against the head against the cold steel of the elevator's wall, exhaling deeply. I have a mission to get on with. I don't have time for this now. You swallow your anger, determined that the captain won't be able to dodge your question for long. So, I think I'm going to stick with that one. I wasn't sure I would. I was kind of leaning towards the first one you chose, but I think I'll stick with it. We'll follow this path and see what happens. Back to the hangar. Pretty sure there's no one left, is there? I've equal to everyone. So, yes. Obviously. No one there. Bridge, Armory, Aft, Survey. Let's quickly go to the Armory, I wonder. Is there anything I could get? Just a very small light weaponry. Captain didn't want me to say anything from here, so we're not expecting trouble. Let's see, go alone. Shouldn't need one since we're not expecting any trouble with the bride. Take a standard issue one from the hangar instead. Taking a standard issue sidearm with me, so O'Brien with the O'Brien, so I don't need anything else here. Okay, fair enough. No options, can't take any weapons with me. Guess we're just gonna trust to luck. Talk to Hansen. As Hansen and Vanessa continue their argument, oblivious to your presence, releasing your grip on the guardrail. It's almost time for the mission, so you could get ready to depart. But if you've got anything you want to do, Although the prospect of the upcoming mission makes your stomach drop, you take a deep breath in, hold it briefly, and exhale slowly, calming yourself. Gathering up your resolve, you kick over to the storage lockers near the hangar entrance and remove a flight suit from one, pulling it on over your normal uniform. It had taken you much longer to get the suit on Earth, but thanks to that unwelcome refresher, you now slide it on relatively effortlessly. After closing the clasps on the last of the suit seals, you take the helmet from the locker, tuck it under your arm, turning back to face the main hangar. Hansen and Vanessa's bickering doesn't seem like it will end anytime soon, so with a weary exhalation, you float forward, vault over the guardrail, and kick off it, sending yourself towards Hansen's armored frame. Lieutenant Finch reporting for duty. You announce loudly as you grab onto the shoulder of the armored frame. Stopping in the middle of what she was saying to Hansen, Vanessa turns to face you. She then pushes off the hangar ceiling and heads towards you, not waiting to arrive to begin her lecture. It's about time you arrive, Lieutenant. You're due to report in a few minutes. What exactly do you think you're doing turning up this close to the mission start time? I'll remind you that I'm responsible for overseeing this assignment, so I won't have your lack of timekeeping impacting the outcome. Now before she can get much further into her tirade, Vanessa is cut off by Hansen, who floats in between the two of you and into the open cockpit of the Juno. Ensign Cruis, ready for departure, he states lazily before disappearing into the armored frame, taking Vanessa's attention away from you and back towards him. Don't forget, Ensign, I'm counting on you. Vanessa calls into the cockpit. If Hansen answers, you don't hear it. Well then, Lieutenant, have you got everything you need for the mission? I don't see you carrying a PST or a guide from the Chief on removing the O'Brien's black box. Didn't you? Hey, Lieutenant. The Chief's loud call comes from the hangar entrance, and you see her heading towards you with a large off-white object under her arm and a manila folder in her other hand. As she's halfway across, she launches the object at you. Although you manage to grab it with your free hand, its momentum pushes you back into the armored frame, and you hit it with more force than you'd expected. It takes you a second to recover, once you realize that the Chief's just pitched the briefcase-sized portable computer at you, the PST. You got the PST again. By the time you're able to find its handle and grip on it, the Chief arrives at the Juno and holds out onto the machine. I had to grab the one you'd left in engineering. I've charged it up, but these devices get pretty thirsty, so it took a while. Ahem. And here's instructions for removing the black box. The O'Brien's a swift like the gun dog, so there shouldn't be any difference in procedure, as long as you follow this to the letter. Ahem. Ignoring Vanessa, the Chief proffers a manila folder containing a few sheets of paper. Arranging your hold on your helmet, the PST, and your grip on the armored frame, you just about managed to take the folder from her. You got the black box guy. Ahem. You glance back to Vanessa, who hovers behind you, an increasingly deep scowl forming on her face. Before you have the opportunity to acknowledge the Lieutenant, the Chief lays a hand heavily on your shoulder, returning your attention to her and almost making you drop the folder. Don't forget, Lieutenant, that PST needs access verification to open the doors, so your ID won't work on the O'Brien because you've not been assigned to it. You'll need to use the ID of one of the O'Brien's crew to get anything working. Oh right, thanks for the heads up, Chief. If that's the case, would you mind hanging on to these until I get back? Sure thing, Lieutenant. Anyway, I've got engines to be reactivating, although I've already queued up the startup reaction. It's now all Chief Engineer Cathays. Right, we've both got things to be getting on with. Good luck out there, Lieutenant. With a final pat on your shoulder, the Chief launches herself off the armored frame and back towards the hangar entrance. Chief Engineer Cathays! Vanessa yells whilst using you to pull herself forwards, her lower lip quivering with anger as she watches the Chief pass over the guardrail and towards the stairwell leading out of the hangar. Although she remains silent, you can see the rage building in Vanessa, her slight frame seeming as if it could explode at any moment. As subtly as possible, you attempt to make your way to the Juno's cockpit without attracting her attention. You've already noticed that Dalton has disappeared from view and hope to achieve the same thing before the Lieutenant can direct her scorn at you. Unfortunately, as you lower yourself into the Juno's cockpit, the casing of the PST strikes the armored frame's surface, resulting in a loud clang that reverberates through the empty space of the hangar. Going somewhere, Lieutenant? Back away slowly. As Vanessa glares at you, waiting for your response, you meet her gaze and keep your eyes firmly on hers. Instead of answering, you move slowly and silently. Continue to make your way to the cockpit entrance. Once there, you turn and duck inside, quickly pulling the lever that closes the hatch behind you. Don't you dare ignore me! With the hatch closed behind you, Vanessa's yelling is immediately cut off, and all you can hear is the gentle hum of the frame's subsystems. Once inside, your eyes quickly adjust to the low light, with the only source of illumination being the occasional backlit dial or readout. You pause for a moment and grit your teeth. This was the first time in years that you've been inside the cockpit of an armored frame. It might be a newer model, but it was pretty much exactly how you remembered it. Stepping back to the present, you do your best to head off the thoughts that you know will follow your reminiscing, by taking a look around the cockpit to see where you'll be sitting. Although the majority of a Juno's cockpit is taken up by the pilot seat, which sits in the center, mounted on a series of shock absorbers, there is space on either side which allows for the addition of a temporary passenger seat to be mounted on the pilots. Sure enough, Dalton has attached this fixture onto the right side of the seat currently occupied by Hanson. You stash the PST and the file the Chief gave you in the rear of the cockpit. Once they're out of your hands, you pull on your helmet, fasten it there. Excuse me, I need a drink. Mouth was getting a little bit dry. Once they're out of your hands, you pull on your helmet, fastening your seat's final seals and then strapping yourself into the passenger seat. Whilst you do up the buckles, you look across at Hanson, who you realize hasn't said a single thing since you entered the cockpit. You've been too preoccupied with getting away from Vanessa to notice, but now that you're actually paying attention to the ensign, you see that his chest is rapidly rising and falling with every breath. On top of that, his hands both grasp the flight sticks, squeeze them tightly and release them, a motion he repeats over and over. Despite the fact you're looking right at him, he hasn't noticed you. Instead, his focus seems purely on the monitor in front of him. Hey, Ensign Cruz? Are you, okay? Sorry, I'm just quickly getting my glasses. They got pee-pee smudged. There's a slight delay, but a second after you ask, Hanson releases his grip on the flight sticks and turns to face you. The intense expression he'd just had suddenly replaced by his normal countenance. What? I was just asking if you were okay. Of course I'm okay. What are you talking about? We're not all cowards like you who can't even launch an AF. You take a deep breath in and exhale slowly as you look away. You weren't sure what you'd been expecting, but at least Hanson seemed like his normal self. Thankfully, any follow-up from him is cut off by Vanessa's face appearing on the comm screen, and her voice in the frame speakers. Gundog 1, this is Lieutenant Lord. It's 16:30 Jovian Standard, and the mission has begun. Please confirm you're ready for launch. Copy that, Lieutenant Lord. This is Ensign Cruz in Gundog 1. All systems ready for launch, waiting for authorization. Understood. Authority granted. Stand by whilst you're transported for takeoff. Although the Juno's monitors haven't turned on yet, you can tell that the reverberations you feel are coming from it being lowered from the hangar and out onto the underside of the ship. Awaiting all systems. Now. Activating. All at once the monitors come to life, illuminating you and Hanson with their glow. Gundog 1 ready. Gundog 1 releasing restraints. Gundog 1 launching. Once the armored frame is free of its restraints, Hanson slams the flight sticks forward in unison, sending the Juno hurtling away from the Gundog and causing it to shake with the acceleration. As the cockpit shudders, you unconsciously grab onto the straps keeping you in the passenger seat and squeeze them tightly. With the frame continuing to accelerate, you do your best to keep a neutral expression, but despite this, Hanson looks across at you and notices your grim appearance. What's the matter, Lieutenant? Feeling flight sick already? No, I'm fine. You lie. Sure. Just sit back and watch how a real pilot handles an AF. Although you'd thought Hanson had launched at maximum thrust, he somehow manages to find an extra burst of acceleration, causing the cockpit to shake further, doing nothing to help the nausea you feel. If you throw up, sir, your helmet stays on. Eventually, Hanson eases up on the acceleration and the juddering stops. Although you're still slightly nauseous, you slowly begin to feel less like the little food you've had time for today will be reappearing inside your helmet. As the Juno continues to cruise forwards, you and Hanson both sit in the near silence of the cockpit. With no real indication of distance between you and the O'Brien, or the speed you're travelling, it's difficult for you to keep track of time, and the journey drags on. There's no way for you to be exact, but it feels like at least half an hour has passed with neither of you saying anything. Eventually, the oppressive silence, coupled with your increasingly desperate desire for a distraction, forces you to think about something you'd never thought you'd do, willingly start a conversation with Hansen. Save. Ask about the gun, though. So, you start before trailing off quickly as Hansen doesn't acknowledge you at all. How long have you been on the gun dock? Hansen gives you the briefest flicker of acknowledgement, but doesn't take his eyes off the main monitor. What? I was just asking how long you've been stationed on the gun dock. Why? You're only seconds into this conversation, and it's already one you're beginning to regret. I just, thought I'd ask. I'd heard people talking about your piloting, and yeah, well, people can say whatever they like about my piloting. It doesn't make a difference because I've been stuck on this joke of a ship for a year. Not that it matters. Every other pilot in the JCF is doing nothing but drills right now, so who cares where I am? A fresh, uncomfortable silence hangs in the air between the two of you as you mentally scramble for a response. So what are you doing on this ship anyway? How do you screw up? Your first instinct is to fire back that you aren't a screw-up like him, but you know you can't admit that Cassie had you transferred, put through as a favour without the risk of it getting back to Vanessa. I didn't screw anything up, I just got transferred here short notice to fill the role. That's all. Whatever, sir. You don't get dumped on the gun dog unless you screwed up, or are defective, so what was it? Either. Yeah, sure. What about, Haru? How long have you known Haru? What are you asking? I'm just asking how long you've known Haru. Why? Are you into them? What? No, I was only... Oh man, can't believe you're into Haru. They're going to love this. I'm not into Haru. Does Quinn know? Ensign? Oh man, maybe she does. Maybe that's why you're asking. Damn, no wonder you're asking. I knew you two were both freaks. Just shut up, Ensign Crewis. As the two of you continue to sit in silence, and you watch Hansen making occasional minute adjustments to the flight path of the Juno, you realize something. When you'd read the report in the captain's quarters, you'd been shocked, hit with a gut punch of realization. What had happened to you at the battle above Luna could all be traced back to one woman, Mary Spartacus, captain. Except it wasn't just you who had been there that day. You weren't the only one who was on board the ship that had been affected by her actions. Hansen had fought for his life as Kaliki flight was wiped out around him, and he'd have to survive in the combat zone for over 12 hours. What had happened to Hansen, what he blamed you for. It hadn't been your fault. Now, finally, you knew whose it was. The realization hung over you as you grappled with the situation. It's not like you were any closer to dealing with this information. Was there even any way that knowing could bring you closure? It couldn't bring back Kaliki flight, or any of the other pilots or crew of the ships that had been lost. But still, if someone else had known, would you have wanted them to tell you? Would telling Hansen do any good? Would it do any for him? Any for him? These thoughts almost overwhelmed you as you tried to wrestle with what you should do until suddenly you just blurt out. When I was in the captain's quarters, I found a report. What? You take a deep breath. You'd started now and there was no going back. When I was in the captain's quarters, looking for the codes to reactivate the gun dock, I found a report in the captain's desk. Yeah, okay. Why are you telling me this? It was about the battle above Luna, 4 years ago. As soon as you mention the battle, you hear Hansen take a sharp intake of breath, and his flight sticks creak as he squeezes both of them. In an instant, his whole body goes rigid. It was about the reason the enemy were able to outflank us, why they were able to break through Refuel. You see Hansen's expression shift into a grimace, but he still doesn't say anything. It was because Captain Bartolomew's, she was Rear Admiral Bartolomew's back then, she made an order that pulled the ships away from our rear defensive line. It left us wide open. It's why... Why the hell are you telling me this? Hansen yells, his fist lashing out and striking the control panel to his left side. Because it was her. She's the reason. She's the reason why we had to deal with what we dealt with. She's responsible. Who cares? What difference does it make? Hello, baby. It's It's this whole time, it was... I know what this is. This is just you trying to worm your way out of your responsibility. What? No, it wasn't my fault. It was... Shut up. Don't try and get out of this. It doesn't matter why it happened. You weren't there. You weren't there when we needed you. You were. It wasn't my fault. Just shut up. This time, Hansen's fist connects with the side of his seat that yours is mounted to, making the whole thing judder and activating the shock absorbers. With that, the two of you fall back into an uneasy silence. This time, though, you have no desire to rekindle any conversation, instead allowing the silence to stretch on for the remaining duration of the journey. With no other sounds beyond the almost imperceptible background noise of the cockpit, and the Juno's monitor showing nothing but stars, your mind drifts, bouncing from thought to thought. The warmth of the cockpit and the gentle vibrations caused by the shuddering of the Juno's engines cause your thoughts to idle and slow. Eventually, without realizing it, you begin to drift off to sleep. You're almost completely gone when both you and Hansen sit upright and fix your attention on the main monitor. Although there's nothing to see beyond the stars and the visual indicator, you know that this means the O'Brien is close by. We're here. Hansen mutters to himself as he begins to flick switches on the control panel to his side. You watch silently as he works the pedals and flight sticks to reduce the Juno's speed. Gundog, this is Gundog 1, and we've got target lock on the objective. I repeat, this is Gundog 1, and we've got target lock on the objective. Hansen scowls at the communication screen as it returns nothing but static, and an indication that it hasn't picked up any incoming signal. He quickly resets the switches on the control panel for activating them again. I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. Do you read? Piece of junk. His foot strikes the paneling underneath the main monitor, causing it to flicker momentarily, but doing nothing to help obtain a signal. With the O'Brien now visible on the screen, you remain silent as Hansen continues to deactivate and reactivate the Juno's transmission system. Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock. God damn it, Lord, where the hell are you? Hello? Hello? This time, Hansen's fist strikes the main monitor. Thankfully for both of you, the reinforced glass of its screen remains undamaged. You move as far away from Hansen as the restraints of your temporary seat will allow. You always knew he was hot-headed, but that doesn't make this any easier to deal with. Now there's a choice. I'll leave him to it. You cross your arms and look away as Hansen continues to attempt to re-establish contact with the Gundog. The time he does, his efforts are met with the same familiar static. Come on, what's wrong with this piece of crap? Gundog, come in. This carries on for a few more minutes, but you do nothing to attempt to offer a solution or solve the problem. In his current mood, you don't feel that Hansen will take any suggestion well. Eventually, he throws himself back in his seat, causing both his and yours to rock. As you steady yourself, he grips the twin flight sticks and increases the frame's thrust. Fine, not like we don't know what we're doing. This is Gundog 1. In case anyone out there can actually hear us, we're approaching the JFS O'Brien. We're carrying out the visual inspection of the O'Brien now. With the O'Brien now close enough for you to actually make out its finer details, Hansen decelerates the frame, bringing it to a nearly complete stop. Deftly adjusting the Juno's orientation, he then begins to circle the Swift-class ship, and the two of you focus on the monitor, trying to identify anything out of the ordinary on the O'Brien before you get closer. Wait a second. Is that... You point to the O'Brien's main airlock, and Hansen quickly sets the camera to zoom out. Wide open. It looks like someone tried the same stunt as you. No, that's not it. I closed the secondary airlock door behind me. Both of those are open, which means the ship must be completely depressurized. Yeah, if this happened when the power's off, none of the emergency bulkheads will be able to close. The two of you sit in silence, both considering what you've just found out. It's the same thing that had happened to the O'Brien as the Gundog, and someone had opened both airlocks. Then when what little breathable air was left on the ship would have been sucked out into space. We've still got a mission to do. Come on. You nod silently in agreement as Hansen, apparently sobered by that realization, moves the armored frame towards the airlock. This isn't necessarily the end, you think. If some of the crew were lucky, they might have been able to get their spacesuits on before they ran out of air. They'd be running low on oxygen by now, but... This is Gundog 1, docking with the O'Brien. Now only meters away from the other ship, Hansen brings the Juno to a complete stop, and with a surprising amount of delicacy has it reach out with one arm, grabbing hold of a protrusion from the ship and anchoring itself. Alright, let's go. And that's where I'm going to leave it for tonight. That's a suitable, interesting position to leave it in. Just before we're going in. Very spoopy. Again, like, I'm impressed. Going from the sort of quiet tension of the dead ship to this new tension of another dead ship it's pretty good. I'm into it. But yeah, shit's great. Still loving it. Still hype. Definitely need to try and do some more of this. Obviously, I'm not playing it in my spare time, so everything is all brand new, and I am enjoying thoroughly what's going on. But yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed it, and please feel free to check in. Obviously, if you care to, take what I was saying earlier to consideration, about the stupid reviews. Definitely check this out. Please do. You should definitely check it out. And also follow the guys behind it. Like I said, my friend John, Space Colony Studios, can be found on Blue Sky. The artist... Let me just double check again. The artist, who is... Buttsman Savage. You'd think I'd remember that by now, but can be found at Buttsman Savage. Hello, PP. Yes, hello. She's currently cleaning my nostrils. That's very nice of you. I hadn't thought of that. Blech is all I can say. But it's found at K-Butts Corner, KBUTZ, KORNER, like Blue Sky. And the composer is Daniel, otherwise known as Flumby Dumby, which is FLUMBEEDUMBEE on Blue Sky. Check them all out, give them all a follow, and like I said, get it yourself. I highly recommend. The physical copies have started coming in. My friends have picked up theirs. They look amazing. So I think you can get those over at PlayAsia. And it's available on Steam, on Switch, on PlayStation, and I assume on Xbox. So yeah, until we meet again, I'm thinking of I might try and do some stuff on Saturday. I should have a nice quiet day. Yes, hello puppy, it's almost over. So please feel free to check that out, and otherwise I'll be back with more of this next Thursday, and some more Final Fantasy VII on Tuesday. So until then, try not to find yourself stuck in small spaces with people who clearly don't like you, and I hope that someone brings you your favorite chocolate bar or favorite sweet in general when you're not feeling too good, as a means of helping you feel better. But until next time, bye-bye. Bye-bye.